Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my process for measuring and installing, making the adjustable shelves that are going to go into this TV console that I'm building. This is the basic carcass, the toe kick part of it. The base is not on it yet. I haven't made that yet. So I'm going to make the shelves now. This way, also the backs, they're going to have 1/4-inch backs on here, and that's going to cover up the back of the, you probably can't see it now, I didn't make the backs yet, but they're going to slide into the groove there. They're going to be captured backs. They're going to cover the back stretchers, so you won't see those. You'll only see the front top stretchers. With a stain project, you have to make sure that you're matching your grain so that your grain is running continuous throughout the box all the way in a pattern, because you're going to see it when you put the stain on and a clear coat. This is not a paint grade, this is all red oak, so the grain's going to show through, and that's what it's meant to do. You can see behind me, this was one sheet of the red oak plywood. So the one sheet with the cuts done right, with proper planning, you can get the whole carcass out of it and then have a piece left over right here, which just happens to be 20 millimeters more than I actually need to make the shelves. So that worked out perfectly. So if you go with good planning, you can really save on material and you can maximize your cuts and minimize your waste. And that's really big. Before we get started moving forward with this real quick, I just want to explain to you something, because in the last video where I showed you guys how to break down plywood like a pro, the tools that I use in this video, TSO products are the only tools that I am sponsored by that company, that I'm affiliated with them only. The other tools that you see me use, Festool, I'm not sponsored by Festool at all. I have paid for every item that I have in my shop that's Festool, which is almost everything, on my own, with my own money, by saving money up from each job to acquire those tools over the years. So some of the comments in that last video were really stupid. I mean, like, people were like bashing on me for using Festool, and oh, if you weren't sponsored by them, you would never use them. I'm not sponsored by Festool. The tools just work for me. So if you see tools in this video that I'm using, you don't have to go out and buy those tools and use those tools to do the job. You can use any tools. Like with the edge bander, I'm gonna be using the Conturo edge bander. That just makes it quicker for me and easier for me, because I'm doing production work here and getting it out to clients. I'm on deadlines, I have to move fast, and the stuff has to be quality and precision work. Otherwise, I'm not gonna make any money. So those tools help me make more money because they help me work faster and better, and they make the quality of my work better. And my clients, they really appreciate that. If you don't have that situation, just go out and buy what works for you, or stick with what you have and use those tools. You can do edge banding with an iron. I did it for years. Is it terrible? Yes, it's horrible. Today, these 4 shelves, I'm gonna cut them, edge band them, sand them, you trim them, everything is gonna be done in within like 20 minutes. So that's, time is money, and me saving time with certain tools, that makes me more money. So if you don't like that, then you don't have to watch this video. You don't have to buy any of the tools that you see in the video, because I'm certainly not pushing them on you. But listen to the things that you're saying. I mean, you go back on that video, read some of those comments. I had one guy actually claim that he was a builder and threw guys off the job site for showing up with Festool. Does that make any sense to anyone? If you're throwing guys off job sites for having quality tools that do precise work, then you're building absolute garbage houses, okay? You're claiming to be a home builder. So anybody can go back on that video, read the comments. I mean, there's one guy just like out of his mind. I can't even understand the train of thought with some of these people. But all right, with that being said, let's start to make the shelves for this TV console. I'll show you how easy this is and how we measure and how we cut it, edge band it, and everything. And I'll show you some things to speed up your process. All right, let's get started. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is, you see here, there's some grooves in the back. It's hard to pick up on camera because it's red oak and the lighting in here kind of washes it out. But what we're gonna do is, we need to actually make sure that the shelf is going to be measured from the tip of this groove here. Basically, you can hook inside the groove, and that will give you the measurement of like right where you're going to butt up against the back. Because remember, I'm going to have a 1/4-inch red oak stained back in here that's going to close it in. So when you slide the shelf back, it's going to hit that 1/4-inch backing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to measure in there. And what I like to do is, I don't measure to the front of the cabinet and then take some, a couple of millimeters off. I like to measure to where the shelf pin hole is, and then I like to add some millimeters from where the front edge of that hole is, so that I know I'm gonna have that extra meat sitting on that shelf pin. I have the groove back here, and then I have my shelf pin holes, you know, in the rear and in the front over here. So I'm just gonna take the tape and I'm gonna hook it in here just like that, right into the groove, and then I'm gonna pull it forward, and I'm gonna look at this shelf pin hole right here. And what I'm getting to the center of that is 345 millimeters. That's to the center of that hole from that back. Now, what I wanna do is I wanna go at least about 20 millimeters past that. This way I have, you can't see the shelf pin underneath, number one, and number two, the shelf's not gonna sit so far back that it's gonna be right on the edge of that shelf pin. You want some stability. So I'm gonna add 20 millimeters. So I got 345 to the center. I'm gonna add 20, I'll go 365. Now, if you want a little bit bigger, you can go to 370, it's not a problem. But 365, that's a good, you know, a good number right there. It gives me 20 millimeters past the hole, and it gives me plenty of shelf space inside here. So the first thing we're gonna do is edge band the entire length of the piece, because it's easier to just do one edge banding straight across and then cut them into smaller pieces after we trim off the edge banding, and then all the pieces will be done and ready to be sanded and just thrown right there in on the shelves. And so it's quicker that way. Okay, so this is one of the downfalls of working by yourself in the shop or out in the field. If you're looking behind me and wondering where my whole miter saw station is, well, that's actually in my house right now, because while I'm in the middle of building this, I'm running into the house and doing moldings in between while I'm waiting for either glue to dry or stain to dry. So this way I'm not wasting any time, and keeping everything as efficient as possible, because time is money. So what I'm going to do now is, and this is one of the downfalls of not being able to have had time to make a dedicated assembly table on wheels, where I would be able to just, you know, spin this whole thing out of the way and not have to worry about hitting it when I rip the shelf pieces down with the table saw. So I'm just gonna drop this onto this rolling table right here so that I can get it out of the way and make my cuts. All right, now I can roll this out of the way safely so that I can rip down my shelves. Well, I have the edge bander warming up right now. It needs to get hot so it can melt the glue. Now, you can totally do this with an iron, with the iron-on edge banding. It comes with adhesive on it. I buy the fleece back, non-pre-glued, because I have glue pucks that go into the machine, and they apply the glue as I roll the edge bander down the workpiece. TSO makes these little low-profile bench dogs, and these are great for throwing into the MFT or whatever bench you're working on. And they have this rounded edge on the opposite side of this straight edge right here, and when that goes into the wheel of the edge banding, it just allows me to roll the edge banding out the way I need to without getting hung up on anything. So what I like to do to measure this out is go across the piece, put 3 fingers distance on each side, and that gives me the waste of each side that needs to be trimmed off, and then apply the glue and give the glue time to actually, you know, fully seat on the piece, so that I don't have any spots that are missing glue, or any pieces that are gonna, you know, peel off on me later on because they weren't adhered properly. So once I have my measurement down from the 3 fingers on both sides, I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna bend it right there at my 3rd finger, and then snap it right off. Once that warms up, we're gonna apply the edge banding, and then we'll trim it with the router, and that'll be it. We'll be ready to rip this down on the table saw and then cross cut it, and then we'll be able to just stick it right in the piece. It's easy as that. So the edge bander is hot, ready to go. It takes about 7 to 8 minutes to warm up. So what I do is I usually turn on the machine while I'm doing other things like measuring and moving things around in the shop, cleaning up, and then by the time I'm ready to actually do the edge banding, and you know, I measure and break the edge banding and everything, a lot of times I'll have multiple parts. I'll have like you know, a bunch of drawer boxes that I have to edge band, and what I'll do is I'll turn this on, and by the time I'm finished breaking all the pieces for all the edge banding of the drawer boxes, then this thing will be heated up and ready to go. I have it clamped down to the MFT. I have it on the Vaxis also, so it's sucked down to the vacuum on that side and clamped down on this side. And what I'm gonna do is just let the machine do the work. I'm gonna feed the banding into the machine. I'll put it here so you can see it. Feed it right in there, hit the go button. loads it in, and that's it, ready to go. Hit the go button again. It's gonna start to come out. I give it a little leeway, and then I like to push on the edge here just to make sure the glue adheres right to that point, and then I'm just gonna let the machine walk and do the work. I don't have to hold it up, I just have to hold it down and against the piece. And then as I come off the edge, I grip it and I make it level. Comes right off. And then what I do is I hit the cool down button. I'll let that cool down. I'll push down on this edge right here. Now this gets burnished as you move across, as the glue's getting applied. The other roller, as you're pushing inwards, it presses and rolls the whole thing. So you don't have to go over this with like a wood block like I used to with the iron-on edge banding. It's all done in one shot. So that's done. Now I'm just gonna wait 20 seconds. It's gonna cool off, then we can trim it. So it's been about 30 seconds now, nice and cool. I'm gonna use this trimmer. You can use wire cutters. You know, you can use special snips for this. You can take it and you can stand it up and you can take a razor blade and cut it right at the edge, but that's time consuming. This tool right here just goes right over it, and I snip it and it's perfectly flush with the edge. Come to this side, hold it against there, completely done. Now, the router, I'm gonna trim it horizontally. The router has a plate with a 1.5 degree base on it. So what it's doing is it's not holding the router completely 90 degrees to this. That angle is gonna soften that edge of the edge banding so that it's already taken care of. So when you do your sanding and everything, all you have to do is just run your sander right over it and everything is perfectly rounded over, and it'll take paint well or stain well and the clear finish. Because when you have a sharp edge, it never holds paint or clear finish very well. Okay, that first side's done. I'm gonna unclamp it, flip it over, and do the other side. Now I'm going to take this over to the table saw, and we're going to run the edge banding side up against the fence to our final dimension here, and then we can start to cross cut it. Okay, so I need my piece to be 365 millimeters, and that's from the front of the carcass, like right past the holes, like I said, 20 millimeters past the front of the shelf pin hole to the back of the 1/4 inch ply. So I'm going to set that now to 365. Now this, give or take a millimeter, is not a crucial measurement because you're giving yourself some play as a reveal between the front of the cabinet and that hole. You're not going right up to the edge. You don't want to ever go right up to the edge. You want to reveal because it just looks nicer, and you don't want to have that any kind of problem if your case is not square and you made the shelf the exact width from the back to the front of the case, and then you can't get it all the way back and you're gonna have to trim it because you may be sticking out past the front of the case. And especially if you're doing face frame carcasses, then it's not gonna fit inside there because you're gonna be hitting the back of the face frame because that's gonna overhang the box. These are frameless, so you know there's a lot more leeway, but with that being said, you know, you don't wanna take that chance. Now we need to measure for the width of the cabinet here and get our dimensions to cross cut. I always like to take a measurement from the top and from the bottom because that's where your actual support pieces are. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of a bow in the middle. So I have 472, 472. What I like to do with shelves is take a millimeter off of the actual dimension so that it's not sliding into the carcass tightly. Because like I said, if there's any kind of a bow in the middle here, when you're putting in that shelf, even though you put it in on an angle, you don't want to have to slam it down, but you don't want to take off too much, and then you have a lot of wiggle room in there, and when you put things on the shelves, they move. I've seen a lot of people do that too. So don't overcut them. So take off 1 millimeter, pre-fit them, see if they're good. If they are, stick with that measurement. Those of you who are not working in metric when you're building cabinets and you're still in the imperial, then you can take off a 1/16 of an inch and then check it, and if it's still a little too tight, take off another 1/16, but take off a 1/16 at a time. So this way, if you take off a 1/16 and then another 1/16, you've only taken off 1/8. You don't want to go past that, because then you're going to start to have that racking in the shelf, because you're going to have a lot of wiggle room in between each side wall of the carcass. Now remember I said I had 472 in the width. I'm going to start off at 471, and I'm going to back up the fence. You never want to leave your fence all the way across when you're cutting a piece that's longer than it is wider, because you could trap it between the blade or the riving knife. Now I could remove the whole fence and use the stop block on there as well, but since the piece is longer, it's actually easier to do it this way first. And here is the shelf that I just cut. And you're just going to go in on an angle just like that. You're going to put it down on there, put it right back to the edge of where it's going to sit when the plywood backer is in, and that is perfect right there. Okay guys, so you can see I just threw the backs in just to show you, referencing on how these are going to sit. And I got the shelves all done. They need to be sanded still, and obviously everything needs to be stained, but I'm just going to throw them in here real quick so you can see how they sit when you push them all the way against the back panel, and you can see everything has a perfect reveal on it. You see this spacing in here, and that just gives you a little bit of style also. Now obviously it's not going to matter as much, because these two ends are going to have the doors on them, and that's going to be covered up, but you still want to do everything as professional as possible, so that when people do open the doors, everything looks aesthetically pleasing, and you want everything to look good. So you can see everything level across, and that is the beauty of using a system for shelf pin holes. So this is just a quick and easy way to do adjustable shelves. Make sure you run your banding on the long piece first before you cross cut everything. Make sure you also, before you rip it down to the final width that you need. And that's just going to make the process a lot quicker, and it'll help keep you more efficient. And efficiency is key, because time is money. So the faster you go, then the more you can produce and the more money you can make. All right guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys got something out of it. There are tons of ways to do things. Just remember that always, take a little bit of a piece of information from everybody that you can that actually knows what they're doing, and try to make it your own. If you see something that I did that can help you, but you have something from someone else that you learned that is a little bit faster on one end, and something I did here is faster on another end, combine those two things, put them together, and make everything work in a natural flow, and everything will come much easier and move a lot quicker for you, and you'll get a lot more work done. All right guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to check the links in the description for all the tools that I used. Also hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to click the little picture of a notification bell that's going to notify you every time I upload a new video.